And as I just mentioned, there have been 3 related arrests, but few details released by police as to what may have motivated Sunday's mass shooting in downtown Sacramento. Social media is on fire with chatter about this deadly incident being gang-related, but Sacramento police have not confirmed anything like that. The Los Angeles Times, one of the outlets reporting that law enforcement sources have told them that this was a shootout between rival groups. Responsible for the situation or not, gangs are present in Sacramento and active. Someone who knows that all too well is Mervyn Brookins, the director of Brother to Brother, an organization based in Del Paso Heights that dedicated to helping people make better choices and never get into the life in the first place. Mervyn, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. First, how have you and the community you serve been coping since we all learned about this tragedy on Sunday?
Well, it's been a difficult time for us, for the community, for the families that are involved. But we've been doing our best to wrap our arms around the families and the children of the victims and, just love on them and do whatever we can to support them during this time.
Definitely. You are aware of gang activity, gang life in Sacramento. When you heard about this shooting spree, did it have the hallmark of a gang incident to you? Is that where your mind went as we all tried to figure out just what happened?
Well, unfortunately, violence happens all too often in our community, in Sacramento in general. So initially, when I heard about the incident, I didn't automatically presume that it was gang related. Much like, others, I wanted to wait and see what the details are. And I think to this point, it's still unclear. The motives are still unclear. And I think we have to make a distinction between when something is gang related as opposed to something happening just by gang members, So there's a difference. Gang members can do things that are not related to the gangs, as opposed to being motivated by gang activity. So we're still waiting to find out what the motives are, or the motives were in this incident.
Okay, and so for you and in the work that you do, gang members doing something, an act of violence, maybe kind of on their own as opposed to perhaps sanctioned by gang leadership, that's the division that you're talking about.
That's the difference.
Okay.
That's the difference. Individuals can get into it for reasons other than it being gang related. Okay. And I think too often we make the call, if it's a gang member, it has to be gang related. And that's not necessarily true all the time.
Okay, I see the distinction you're making. Over my years in Sacramento, I've covered times where there's been one shooting, then a drive-by or walk-by, a street fight kind of clustered in a certain area, and we've reported then on an uptick in gang violence, possibly the ramping up of what you sometimes hear referred to as a gang war. In terms of anything that the police has shared with us in the last few weeks or months, we haven't heard really anything like that. Is there a pattern that you've been seeing or hearing about out on the streets that maybe others have missed? And if so, what groups are we talking about here that may be active in Sacramento?
Well, that's one of the problems that we have. You don't hear about when programs are successful because nothing happens. So how do you report on nothing that's happening? But over the past few years, there's actually been a decline in gang wars in Sacramento. You've had individual incidents involving gang members, but over the past year to 18 months, we've actually had a decline in gang activity in terms of inter-gang war in Sacramento. And that's largely due to the work of a lot of community-based organizations that are engaging these young men and giving them opportunities to turn their lives around. And that's throughout the city of Sacramento.
And that would speak to the point you were just making earlier, that perhaps this might have been a situation in which some people who happened to be in a gang just happened as individuals to get into it, as opposed to it being an organized, orchestrated something by gang leadership. And since you were just talking about the work that these community organizations have been doing that maybe produced this decline over the last year, 18 months, for those that haven't heard about your program, can you share with us kind of how Brother to Brother helps youth or even older people trying to get away from gang influences? How exactly do you help?
Well, Brother to Brother, we're actually Brother to Brother mentoring, and we're a peer-to-peer mentoring organization. And what we try to do is we match people with similar life experiences. we're made up of a group, a variety of individuals. We have educators, we have law enforcement in our organization, but we also have a lot of men who, at one time or another, including myself, who've been on the other side of the law. So we understand how these young men are thinking. We understand what they're going through. So when we meet with them, we can connect with them on a level that others can't. I like to say oftentimes when one gang member is talking to another gang member, you can identify with that person and you can hear the things not only that that person is saying, but you also hear the things that that person isn't saying. So it helps you, it equips you to be better prepared to help them help themselves. So we try to match people who understand what these young men and young women are going through and become guides for them. Teach them how to make better decisions. Teach them how to be solid or friends for their partners in a way that doesn't always lead to violence. I was talking to someone the other day and I was saying, if we'd have had just one of those guys, that was in that group in our program, I think we could have made a difference. Because one of the things we teach them is that being a good friend doesn't always mean that you do what your friend wants. Sometimes that means you got to pull them back from the edge. And I genuinely believe that if one of those guys had understood that and would have walked away from that situation, I don't think we'd be having this conversation now. So
Very hard lesson to learn, one that you've been engaged in teaching for a very long time, and I'm sure more people will be taking you up on the resources that you provide since this has happened. And unfortunately, maybe some people didn't take you up on them beforehand. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and providing your insight. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.